Yo, what's up? We are live on YouTube. All right, let me post it in Discord, and we are good to go. Good to go. Whoa, good to go. Close that. There we go. What's up, Tuba? How's it going? All right, we're good. Let's go. Yeah, I'm doing the new TypeScript course. I think I'm just going to do the initial one because I don't think I want to build stuff with TypeScript in Boot.dev. I'll probably just work on Nest. But yeah, why not? Good refresher, and I get to check it out and get a better feel for Boot.dev. Let's do it. And like usual, there will be no music on YouTube. There will be music on Twitch. Good music. Off to mute you. No spoilers. All right. I get it. All right. So learn TypeScript for developers. What? Why? Why? Who else is going to learn TypeScript? Welcome. It's time to learn the arcane depths of TypeScript. In this course, we're going to cover all of the fundamentals of the language and even most of the advanced features that you're likely to come across as a professional TypeScript developer. That sounds promising. I'm going to assume you're already familiar with JavaScript. If you're not, start with our Learn JavaScript course. First, I don't want to re-explain programming basics to you. What to expect? For most of this course, you'll be writing code in your browser, but toward the end, we'll drop down to your local machine and use our official CLI tool to pass off lessons. We'll be building parts of make-believe software project support.ai, a startup that builds a revolution, raises capital and spends it all on marketing, builds a revolutionary new way to automate customer support through LLM-powered chatbots. The whole point of TypeScript is to add static typing to JavaScript as a string annotation on the boot up message variable. That's telling TypeScript, hey, the thing that follows is a string. Update the code to print starting support AI servers to the console. Update the code to print starting. Okay. Starting support.ai servers. Cool. Let's do it. Ready to dive in. What's up, Afnan? How's it going? Oh, you know what? We got to do the chest. I think we're going to do the 5,000 XP this time around. As you saw in the last lesson, TypeScript has static types. I'm actually going to enlarge this a bit. All right. As you saw in the last lesson, TypeScript has static types. This TypeScript code is the equivalent of the JavaScript code. The string annotation is a variable type. This also works for the other primitive types like number, boolean, null, and undefined. If a value doesn't match a type, TypeScript will throw an error when it compiles. For example, this is a no-no. We have a compilation bug. Fix the type of the support AI logs variable so that the TypeScript compiler doesn't throw an error and prints the logs at the console. I like this song. It's good. Doing not too bad. Seeing you starting the TypeScript course. We are just starting it. And I will keep this up on YouTube probably for a while. But I think it's kind of cool that Boot.dev is completely fine with, it's all free. I could just post it on my YouTube, and that's so convenient. I wish Scrimba's courses, more of them were free. and they just like charge for the interactivity. We'd go through more Scrimba stuff, but Boot.dev makes it free, so we're going through Boot.devs. Let's go. If your words per minute are as pitiful as mine, you'll agree when I say typing sucks. And objectively, this is more typing than this. The good news is that TypeScript is incredible at type inference instead of explicitly declaring the type of a variable. TypeScript will infer it based on the value. So in reality, you should never write string, just write that. Okay, so it says save. In fact, save it because you can't screw it up, and much less typing. Assignment. Fix the type error by removing the incorrect explicit type declaration. Observe, hover over the support AI logs variable when you're done. Notice that TypeScript still knows that it's a string even without the explicit type declaration. Let's go. What's up, Mikri? Mikrill? Let's go. TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, meaning that all JavaScript code is valid TypeScript code. All TypeScript code is not necessarily valid JavaScript code, but who the fuck cares? The real question is, why should I use TypeScript instead of JavaScript? Well, TypeScript is fantastic because it catches a ton of bugs and errors at compile time, makes your code more readable and maintainable, makes it easier to refactor and scale your code base. In short, it adds static typing to JavaScript. Static versus dynamic typing isn't exactly a settled debate in the programming community, but for me personally, I'll take static over dynamic types any day of the week. I like to hover over variables and see their types, and I like to know that my code doesn't have an entire class of potential bugs before I even run it. So I don't think I'm going to go through the TypeScript path in replacement of Go. I think I'm going to go through the Go path. I don't care to really go through Boot.dev, besides like this fundamental stuff. I don't really care to go through Boot.dev and just like build stuff with TypeScript or JavaScript. I feel like it's not a good use case or use of my time. So I'm going to go through Go, and I want to learn Go and see how I like it. So I remember I got some questions about that before. So I'll be going through the Go path most likely. What's up, Tab? Hi there, Don. Hope things are going well for you with the course. Yeah, we just started, so going well so far. I love static types. Always improves a language, I think. Yeah, the more languages I get exposed to, Jeremy, the more I will be able to form an opinion. Just, how to break out of that JavaScript bubble for a little bit. That's all, but we will. I do want to explore Go. I do. I'm actually kind of curious how it just feels to write a Go application. Is there a reason you chose Go over TypeScript? Essentially what I just said, more exposure to a different language and just how it feels to write a Go application. I think we can only grow more from kind of getting exposed to a different language and building something with it, rather than using the same language we're going to be using to build Nest. Because keep in mind, like, I use TypeScript for Nest. We're already getting that practice in, so why would I go through like an entire course? I think the reason I'm willing to go through this course, part of which, because it does earn me a little revenue. Dude, I'm talking fast today. I know I'm going to trip up over my words, but it earns me a little revenue with affiliate signups, but also I want to learn Python. I've never learned Python. I want to learn Go. I've never learned Go. I want to learn C. I've never learned C. So there's a good reason for me week after week to spend a significant amount of time going through this. Well, it's not even significant at this point. It's kind of just siloed to Mondays, but yeah. Go is a good intro to static typing if you've never experienced that before. Well, I guess we kind of have with TypeScript, right? .NET. Am I sponsored? No. No. I'm not a sponsor. I just gain a commission with affiliates. I'd say sponsorships, like if I'm sponsored by Boot.dev, it's a little bit different. They're probably paying me like kind of a monthly fee to constantly promote their services. For me, I have like no contractual agreement. I literally can just be critical of Boot.dev And I mean, like, I still remain an affiliate partner. I just don't gain as much commission because I'm probably convincing more people not to sign up for it. But no, I'm an affiliate, not sponsored. I would say like the last Scrimba video I did, that was sponsored. TypeScript's type system is fancier than Go, but also less sound. Gotcha. False steer, thanks for the follow. Welcome. Yeah, it's like, it's a distinction that I think is important to make, because I think some people might assume that I'll never like say anything bad about Boot.dev, and I definitely do. So it's usually a distinction I'll make. And even Scrimba, it's just an affiliate partner. I'm not like officially sponsored by them or anything. So I get to, you know, they push out a shitty course. I get to say it's a shitty course and feel good about it because I'm being authentic. But yeah, I like Boot.dev. I like Scrimba. Bolt, I am an affiliate partner with. I was checking job openings to pick between Go and TypeScript. Yeah, TypeScript's going to be more marketable. This is like the main reason he built the TypeScript one. It's more requested. It's more marketable. It just is what it is. I don't think you should necessarily just skip Go. I think, why not do Bolt? Why not learn Go, build a Go application, and then switch to TypeScript? JavaScript and TypeScript. I think that's actually really good. It'll lengthen your journey a bit, but yeah, I don't know. I guess you don't really have to go through Go if you're going through TypeScript, but still, I don't know. I want to learn Go. Thanks for the recommendation. You're welcome. Never mind. I saw your affiliate link. Okay, I think your original message maybe didn't come through. All right, let's dive in. Story time. TypeScript was developed internally by Microsoft at Microsoft by C# developers, led by Anders Heilsberg, who wanted static typing in their JavaScript, C# being a statically typed language. It was released to the public in 2012, and while its execution speed isn't necessarily blazingly fast, its meteoric rise in popularity is. All right, let's play it. Let's do it.
Not everyone in the world loves TypeScript. DHH, the creator of Ruby on Rails, famously declared that he's done with TypeScript and prefers to work in the dynamically typed world of JavaScript, which, to be honest, sounds about right if you like Ruby, the famously dynamic language. Now, I love TypeScript personally, at least I like it more than JavaScript, and I've been using it over JavaScript almost any time I have that choice to make. Let's talk about why it exists in the first place, and then what exactly TypeScript is, because it's not your typical programming language. The big picture why is simple. JavaScript is dynamic and loosely typed. When you write plain old JavaScript code, you get hardly any in-editor tooling to go along with it. Your functions don't have parameter types or return types, and objects that you pass around don't have a designated structure to them. If you have a function that's supposed to return a number, but you accidentally return a string, there's no tooling that's going to tell you about your mistake. Most likely, you'll deploy those types of bugs to production, and you'll only notice the problem when users start sending you angry support emails telling you your site is broken. The creators of TypeScript were developers at Microsoft, and many of them had C# experience. Now, C# is a statically typed language, and these developers were sick of dealing with dynamically typed JavaScript all the time. So they decided to build a language with types that would compile down to JavaScript, because JavaScript's really the only language that runs in the browser, at least if you forget about WebAssembly. So they made TypeScript as a superset of JavaScript, which means all JavaScript code is actually valid TypeScript code. The difference is that in TypeScript, you can optionally add more syntax to provide stricter and stricter type information to the compiler. The more and better the type information you provide, the more powerful your editor's tooling becomes, and the more powerful the TypeScript compiler's checks become. And at its core, TypeScript's compilation isn't about speed. Sometimes it's tempting to think, oh, compiled language means fast. But that's not really what we're talking about here. TypeScript's compiler, TSC, it's all about correctness. It's about the ability to ensure all the types in your code base are correct and eliminate type bugs before you even run your code. I think it's fair to think about TypeScript as less of a traditional programming language and more as an advanced linter for JavaScript.
Cool. Thank you, Lane. But don't you think courses are kind of a waste of money as opposed to like buying a book? No, people are going to have different preferences, like books or courses. For me, I had a book. So I like a mix. I had a book that I still have it. It's in my closet, but I had a book that kind of just got me exposed to HTML and CSS, and it made it really fun, and I liked it. But a lot of books feel very dry to me, and I don't like learning JavaScript through books. I think people just have a preference for like video or like text-based course or a book, and you kind of just go with whatever keeps you engaged and makes it convenient. Because sometimes people like read a book and they'll take it with them. I mean, like you can take a course with you, but like some people just like reading books. Some people just like it. And I think ultimately it's just about what is going to keep you engaged long enough to actually grow. And you got to apply it, of course, but I think people just have their preference. Sorry, just tuning in. Is there a reason you chose to learn through Boot.dev over less expensive or free alternatives? Boot.dev's curriculum is really good, and I'm partnered with them. So they're an affiliate partner. And so I'm going through this kind of just giving my honest feedback on like what I think about the course. I tuned in soon to hear from .net. What? I don't know what you mean by that. I'm kind of interested, but $50 is pretty steep, though might fit my certain scenario. So Grayson, if you are on that tight of a budget, I would argue, first of all, you can gain a discount 25% by using my affiliate link. So you could do that. I think it's on the first payment, though. So a lot of people do like 6 months or a year to get the biggest discount. But you could just look at their material for free. It's just like the interactivity, the RPG stuff, the leveling up, the interacting here. Like if you just want to read the content, all of this is free. All of it is free. You just read, go to the next lesson, read, go to the next lesson, and you just try in your editor. So if you're on a budget, I highly recommend like save your money and just read and try it on the side. I said I was going to sign up for Boot.dev. That message never went through, Julio. That's funny. I said I was going to sign up for Boot.dev and asked if you had an affiliate link, but I saw in the YouTube descriptions. Gotcha. Yeah, 25% off of the first payment. Yeah, you're welcome, Grayson. Like, I don't want to point anyone towards spending money if you don't have it. A lot of people find this well worth the money, but you might even hate it. You don't know that. So why not just go through it for free and just try it out? And, look at their refund policy. Lanes doesn't really like to lock people into things they don't want to do with things that he's built. Like, I'm pretty sure he has a pretty generous refund policy. Look at that before you go into it. But I'm a big fan of like trying stuff risk-free. I just meant the .NET guy asked the same question before me. Oh, his name is .NET. Oh, yeah, I actually just missed that. You're right. All right, cool. All TypeScript code is valid JavaScript code. False. Oh, there's an explain. Oh, ask. Oh, they have a new button, I think. Interesting. Oh, just with that. Okay. What is TypeScript? TypeScript is a language, but the official implementation of TypeScript is the TypeScript compiler. TSC. Its job is simple. Take TypeScript code, ensure it's valid, and then compile it into JavaScript code. The compiler, TSC, has been written in TypeScript for a long time, but very recently, the TypeScript team has started a port to Golang. They've reported compilation speed improvements 10 times, and I'm super excited about that. TypeScript is not supported natively by most JavaScript engines, so it needs to be compiled into equivalent JavaScript code before it can run. So I believe this has changed with Node, has it not? This interesting fact that TypeScript code is only type checked before it's run has led to an interesting philosophical question. Is TypeScript basically just a really good linter? And honestly, yeah, I think so. I get it. Technically, it does a lot more than your standard linter, but from a practical perspective, its primary benefit is to do static analysis on your almost JavaScript code and catch bugs before they happen. Compiled to JavaScript. TypeScript is interesting in that it's compiled, but not in the traditional compiled to binary sense. Instead, it's compiled to JavaScript. So it's not really compiled for performance reasons, but rather for compatibility reasons. The goal of TypeScript is to write JavaScript code that's easier to work with. Compilation errors. So in this course, if your code fails to compile, you'll get the error like this. Type string is not assignable to type number. Only if the compilation is successful, then we run the code. So your code needs to pass compilation and needs to run correctly. Assignment, run the code as is. You should see a compilation error from TSC. Fix the compilation error by changing the value of support AI port to the number 3000. Oh, I could use this. Okay, they do the same thing. All right. Cool. Submit. The dev experience is indeed like having a good linter. However, TSC also does some optimizations when it can. Does it? Really? I didn't know that. Okay, so we know TypeScript's purpose is to add static types to JavaScript, and we know all JavaScript is valid TypeScript. In practical terms, what that means is when you compile plain JavaScript code using TSC, your code base is full of any types. The any type is exactly what it sounds like, a type that could be anything. The purpose of types really is to narrow down the possible values that a variable can hold. From that perspective, any is the most useless type because it doesn't narrow anything down at all. But it's important because it allows you to opt out of type checking for a variable. The any type is super useful when you migrate an existing JavaScript code base to TypeScript. The very simplified process is change the file extensions from JS to TS, get TSC running without errors, often works out of the box due to any. Slowly, over time, replace any's with more specific types. Boot.dev's front end used to be JavaScript. Went through this exact process a couple years ago, it hasn't really been around that long, has it? I mean, barely. Getting it all converted to so he like switched to TypeScript right away. Getting it all converted to TypeScript and slowly purging the any's. Well, Vibe migrating a JavaScript file to TypeScript. What? While Vibe migrating a JavaScript file to TypeScript, a bunch of any's were inserted into the code base. Oh, Vibe. Okay. Please don't Vibe migrate. Lane he had a few. No, he's delirious. Don't Vibe migrate. Don't Vibe code. Update to constants from any of their proper types by using inference. All right. So we're just getting rid of these. That's what he means. It's a full-on compiler. Okay. Well, I know that, but yeah, I guess compilers do make optimizations, right? All right. Wrong. Definitely Vibe migrate if you run a service like Boot.dev. Your time is very valuable. In any productivity boost? No. I'm going to be... So... .NET, if Lane was in here right now, he would have cringed at what you just said. So let me lay down a foundation for you. Here, we care to actually be good software engineers. We don't care to have AI generate our code. We don't care to do vibe coding or anything of that sort. If you're trying to become a good software engineer, you should be writing the code yourself. I think what you probably want to do is go to the founder's Twitter and just check out some of his tweets about vibe coding. Just check out maybe some opinions he has or his philosophy around like why he structured Boot.dev the way it is. I think like I don't think you realize the hurt that you bring him by saying that. Please check out his Twitter. All right. So, but just to be, like, jokes aside, just to be clear, we actually care to be good software engineers here. We're not promoting vibe coding in any way. Like, if that's the route you're going, this is just a wrong community for you. So, function type syntax. One of the most useful places for explicit types is a function's signatures, for example. Function create message. So we have 3 parameters, and we're returning a string. The colon type after each parameter specifies the parameter's type, and the colon type after all the parameters specifies the return type. It works the same way with arrow functions. Cool. We need to calculate discounts for support AI customers. Run the function as is, and notice that TypeScript is showing us some compile time errors. Fix the calculate total function by using the proper types. It should accept 3 parameters. Price, which is a number. I have so many opinions on vibe coding. It's terrible for learning how to build stuff. It really, really is. It also can make, it depends on how you use it, but creating a dependency on it solving problems for you, on it not allowing you to reinforce syntax by typing it, which is how it gets reinforced. It's a use it or lose it situation with programming. It always has been. And when you let yourself get rusty, and you'll get rusty in different areas. But when you let yourself get rusty by outsourcing the practice and reinforcement you get through actual coding, even as experienced software engineers, that's a problem. There are use cases for it. There are even use cases for generated AI. But like, if we're going to give a blank statement, the blank statement probably should be just write your own code if you want to be a software engineer. There's a more nuanced conversation, but I think it's just a horrible, horrible advice to give a blank statement to recommend vibe coding to any software engineer, to recommend AI-generated code for majority of your code base to any software engineer for many reasons, which I have done reactions and videos to, and you can check out on my YouTube channel. What are we returning? Probably just a number, right? Return total price number. Inferred return types. I personally think there is a little more nuance to it if you're 5 years in a stack. I think there may be some benefits leveraging for certain things, not for beginners. I agree. Yeah, that we're probably on the same page. We're probably on the same page with that opinion, yeah. The vibe migrate was just a horrible thing to ever. I'm sorry, I can't even. I have to do this. Like, we gotta time you out for that. For the vibe migrating. I think, like, you didn't say it with a kappa, so I'm guessing you were serious about it. I have to. Like, my core being, who I am as a person, like, my soul feels a tremendous amount of cringe for, like, reading that statement. I just cannot have it in my chat. I'm sorry. I tried so hard to just, like, let that go. I could not. All right, so okay. All right, Moneyballin', hold up. Here's what we're going to do. I think, like, we don't really have an official rule. I think I'm just going to start, like, we've talked about this. I've kind of just explained my entire statement about how we're trying to become good software engineers. We're not really encouraging vibe coding. I'm just going to be blunt about this. If you are pushing vibe coding or anything of that sort in this community, you're probably going to get banned permanently. So allow me to be blunt, because I don't think my jokes are delivering the right message. So allow me to be very blunt and very candid. Here, I actually care to see people be awesome software engineers, and vibe coding is not going to get you there. I'm so 100% certain of that, and the damage it's done, especially as a junior developer, I can't. We can't do that here. We have to be better than that. We just have to be. But if you want to go on Twitter and promote that, feel free. There are a lot of people promoting their content and indie hacker projects there. So, inferred return types. So you know how we discussed that. My power level equals 9,000 is better TypeScript than my power number, 9,000. What follows is a bit of a personal opinion, but I think the same is generally true for function return, not parameter types. Instead of this, we can write this. And TypeScript infers the output as a number. Let's listen. We got to pause a really good song, too. Also, you really need to struggle hard with stuff if you want to internalize. Yes, 100%. And I think my biggest gripe, and so if we're talking about like experienced software engineers, my biggest gripe is that even experienced developers that are, so I don't want to get into this. I'm trying to learn TypeScript. I don't care. Yes, I agree with you. I don't know why I'm going down this rabbit hole. It's just because of Twitch. All right, so let's go ahead and play the video.
This topic has been debated and debated over the last few years.
Why is it so loud
because I'm creating
still?
this course, I feel obligated to not only steelman both sides of the argument, but also weigh in with my own opinion. The argument? Should you allow TypeScript to infer your return types, like this? Or should we explicitly declare our return types like this? When I first saw this debate, I kind of defaulted to, well, explicit's better than implicit. I like seeing what my functions are meant to return right there in the code. But as I've seen more explanations and heard kind of the different sides of the arguments, my thoughts have become a bit more nuanced and I've landed somewhere in the middle. So let's break it down. First, the pros of explicit returns. Number one, you can see the author intended return type right in the code without needing to run any tooling. Now, I'll admit, basically everyone uses LSP and in-editor tooling these days, and honestly, if you don't, I don't even know why you're using TypeScript in the first place. So the bit about being in the code versus like shown on hover actually doesn't matter too much to me. But there is value in seeing, hey, this is what the person who wrote this function actually wanted to return. That way you know it's not an accident. Two, it stops you from screwing up your contracts. When you write a function, it's because you expect other parts of your code to use that function. If those parts expect your function to return this, but you started mucking around in the body of the function, and now it actually returns this, you've potentially broken all the places where the function's called. Had you explicitly said that you wanted to return the type that you wanted to, then your function body would have yelled at you as you were writing it and told you that you're returning the wrong thing. Okay, so now why might you want to use an inferred return type? Well, the big reason in favor of inferred or implicit return types is that they're always going to be more accurate and specifically more narrow. For example, you might have a function like this. It accepts a Boolean, and then, depending on what was passed in, returns one of two strings. The inferred type here is very specific. It's either hello admin or hello user. It's only one of those two specific string values. But if you explicitly typed the return as, say, something more generic, like string, you'd actually be casting it to a wider type, and that more specific type information is now lost. To be fair, it's not actually wrong, it's just not as useful now. The other nice thing about inferred types is it's just straight up less typing. When you let TypeScript do the inferring for you, those two specific strings. The inferred type here is very specific. It's either hello admin or hello user. It's only one of those two specific string values. But if you explicitly typed the return as, say, something more generic, like string, you'd actually be casting it to a wider type, and that more specific type information is now lost.
I don't think I remember hovering over a function. Do you actually see like hello admin or hello user as, if you just hover over a function, do you actually see hello admin and hello user as two options? Is that the advantage here? Because otherwise you could just do like, well, what if you have multiple conditionals? Then you have one of the three, but like, how is that useful? Because I still see this as being useful as seeing as a string, but I guess like if I hover over it, I probably see one of the two results, do I not?
To be fair, it's not actually wrong, it's just not as useful now. The other nice thing about inferred types is it's just straight up less typing. When you let TypeScript do the inferring for you, you don't have to write as much code, which is a benefit of its own. Okay, so here's my personal take.
Well, I understand that it'll infer that. Does it give me that information is my question. I like how Boot.dev has lots of explanation videos. Lots of self-taught courses don't have that many. Boot.dev doesn't have a lot. Maybe I'm not as far into the curriculum as you do, but Boot.dev does not have a lot. It actually is very few. Are you thinking of like a specific course in Boot.dev? Because at least with the Python ones, not really.
If I'm working on a function that I'm planning to export from the project, for example, I'm building a library, then I'll use an explicit return type. And that's because I never want to change my return type on the users of my library without being extremely intentional about it. Also, if I'm working on a very big or complex function with a type on the users of my library without being extremely intentional about it. Also,
I think the IDE configuration matters as to what it will show you on hover. So by default, I'm wondering if it shows you it on hover, because the implicit is like useless. What is the relevance to the implicit if you can't hover over it and see it? Right? If we're talking about like a method that can have a conditional and return two specific types of strings, or even two specific types, like, do we get access to that information on hover? Because otherwise, I don't think that's an advantage of implicit. I actually think it just delivers us less information, and maybe that's the advantage, so it doesn't cloud the code as much. But in order for that to have any other advantage, we need to be able to hover and see that, right? Otherwise, I don't understand the advantage of implicit, if that makes sense. I think it's because compared to the Code Academy course I'm doing, it has more. Oh, okay, fair enough. I gotcha. And what's up, Kelsey? How you doing?
So if I'm working on a very big or complex function with a lot of different places where it returns, and I want TypeScript to ensure that I never accidentally return a type that I didn't mean to return, I'll also use an explicit return. If I know I should only be returning, for example, one of three values, like status codes 200, 400, or 500, but there's a ton of crazy logic and maybe 10 different places my function returns, I see the value in using an explicit return to make sure I don't screw up my own function body. Now, to be fair, that is pretty rare, and in basically all other cases, I prefer to allow TypeScript to infer my return types for me. So to just be a bit more hand-wavy, if I'm writing a function that's only going to be used in my own code base, 99% of the time, I'm using an inferred return type. If I'm writing a function that people outside my code base depend on, I'm using an explicit return type 99% of the time.
I don't understand this then. I don't understand the benefit of inferred rather than reduce code. Because he's saying, like, it would be way less code. It'd be a more complicated type to have like a complicated conditional return, potentially. Like, I would almost want to lean on inferred types if I can just hover over it and not have the type definition cloud the code by explicitly stating it, right? I almost want to watch that video. I'm going to watch that video again because I don't think I understood that video. I should try it. I've never tested that specifically, so just test it in my IDE. It does infer with no special configuration. Then that's an advantage. Okay. Let's see. It's the way that you said it, .NET. Like, you know what? I will put it in the rule, but it's the way that you said it. You're just like, wrong. Definitely vibe migrate if you run a certain, like, I don't know. You're too new to the channel. You just kind of come off as obnoxious. I think, like, if you really want to push this, I think you just deserve a ban. So hopefully you got what you wanted out of that. But I don't know. Like, there's just something about your initial message that came off as obnoxious that I don't enjoy talking to you. So if you want to be serious about it, cool. There's your serious response. All right, let's put on some music. I think I actually am going to add that rule, though, because I was thinking about it. Like, I should be able to kind of tell people that, like, we don't really push vibe coding here, and they kind of just are respectful about it. But I guess if it needs to be a rule, maybe we do that as well. I don't know. And C++, inferred auto return types are really useful when you have a bunch of template programming. Otherwise, it could become a syntactic nightmare. Well, and that's the thing, Kadal. It's like, it seemed like really defining that type definition explicitly was more beneficial when it did get complicated. OD integrations is definitely a benefit, but the compiler yelling at you is also a primary benefit. This is true. Let me go into my rules. I do lean towards explicit annotations myself, though. I'm not convinced. I don't know. Maybe it's just his wording with it that like it just doesn't sync well with me. I almost think like don't explicitly type out the returned if it's really simple. If it's more complex, write out the explicit type. Because I don't think the benefits that I'm assuming with an implied type, I don't think I'm correct in assuming the benefits you get with it. I think you get less benefits with it. And the only benefit really is just reduced syntax. That feels like the only advantage. But he was talking about like string being more generic than those two specific strings, which is confusing to me. That's what threw me off. He's like, if we put string, if we explicitly put string for the return type of the function that conditionally can render two separate strings, that is more generic and gives us less information. Why does that give us less information by explicitly stating it as a string when if we just have inferred types, do we actually see the two specific sets of strings that are going to be returned? That's the part that confused me. I'm going to watch the video again because I think I missed something. Okay, I non-ironically have to drop out to go to a meeting about LM coding assistance. Really? That's funny. I would love to hear what comes out of that conversation if you're willing to share it. You can specify foo or bar as a type, though. Is that what you get when you hover over it? Maybe. That is an advantage in that case. I got to dip here early. Have a good rest of your stream. All right, take care, Kelsey. Have a good one. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. If that's what, yeah, I can understand that being an advantage then. Okay, see you, Jeremy. All right. I am officially... I don't think we're going to go to the extreme to like ban all code generation stuff, but like I am leaning more towards that for people trying to grow as a developer. Again, I just don't know how to word these rules, and I think it's more of a cultural thing. But I think we could just flat out ban vibe coding, like promotion of vibe coding in our chat. Moderation. There it is. Okay. Just trying to find it. Don't promote vibe coding here. This community is focused on but okay, this community is focused on becoming better software engineers. Not writing AI slop. That's good. And I would say I feel pretty strongly about that. So let's see, integrity, and then we have Oh, let's bump the victimhood up. So integrity, victimhood, and don't promote vibe coding here. This community is focused on becoming better software engineers, not writing AI slop. I like that. What's up, Ram? How's it going? Do we do that for a Discord rule? I kind of want to. Why not? There we go. All right. I mean, I could write out a quick example to demonstrate how the inferred return types could be easier to work with. I mean, you're welcome to. Good, Al. It's up to you. What language are you writing it out in, though? I think that depends. Or if I would say like yes or no to that, I think it depends on that. All right, I'm going to watch this one more time. But I think kind of what Jeremy explained just did answer it, but I just want to watch it one more time.
This topic has been debated and debated over the last few years, and because I'm creating this course, I feel obligated to not only steelman both sides of the argument, but also weigh in with my own opinion.
Wow.
The argument? Should you allow TypeScript to infer your return types, like this? Or should we explicitly declare our return types like this? When I first saw this debate, I kind of defaulted to, well, explicit's better than implicit. I like seeing what my functions are meant to return right there in the code. But as I've seen more explanations and heard kind of the different sides of the arguments, my thoughts have become a bit more nuanced and I've landed somewhere in the middle. So let's break it down. First, the pros of explicit returns. Number one, you can see the author intended return type right in the code without needing to run any tooling. Now, I'll admit, basically everyone uses LSP and in-editor tooling these days, and honestly, if you don't, I don't even know why you're using TypeScript in the first place. So the bit about being in the code versus like shown on hover actually doesn't matter too much to me. But there is value in seeing, hey, this is what the person who wrote this function actually wanted to return. That way you know it's not an accident. Two, it stops you from screwing up your contracts. When you write a function, it's because you expect other parts of your code to use that function. If those parts expect your function to return this, but you started mucking around in the body of the function, and now it actually returns this, you've potentially broken all the places where the function's called. Had you explicitly said that you wanted to return the type that you wanted to, then your function body would have yelled at you as you were writing it and told you that you're returning the wrong thing. Okay, so now why might you want to use an inferred return type? Well, the big reason in favor of inferred or implicit return types is that they're always going to be more accurate and specifically more narrow. For example, you might have a function like this. It accepts a Boolean, and then, depending on what was passed in, returns one of two strings. The inferred type here is very specific. It's either hello admin or hello user. It's only one of those two specific string values. But if you explicitly typed the return as, say, something more generic like string, you'd actually be casting it to a wider type, and that more specific type information is now lost. To be fair, it's not actually wrong, it's just not as useful now. The other nice thing about inferred types is it's just straight up less typing. When you let TypeScript do the inferring for you, you don't have to write as much code, which is a benefit of its own. Okay, so here's my personal take. If I'm working on a function that I'm planning to export from the project, for example, I'm building a library, then I'll use an explicit return type. And that's because I never want to change my return type on the users of my library without being extremely intentional about it. Also, if I'm working on a very big or complex function with a lot of different places where it returns, and I want TypeScript to ensure that I never accidentally return a type that I didn't mean to return, I'll also use an explicit return. If I know I should only be returning, for example, one of 3 values, like status codes 200, 400, or 500, but there's a ton of crazy logic and maybe 10 different places my function returns, I see the value in using an explicit return to make sure I don't screw up my own function body. Now, to be fair, that is pretty rare, and in basically all other cases, I prefer to allow TypeScript to infer my return types for me. So to just be a bit more hand-wavy.
So inferred types, the advantage is like when you kind of have a complicated body that can return multiple types, or you just like want to be able to hover over it, see specifically what it's going to return. So it's not like a complicated body, it's just like multiple return types. No. I think maybe I see it like this. Explicit will, as you're writing out the body, explicit is useful. That's it. As you're writing out the body, you want to be checked before you finish the function body. Otherwise, you do implicit. If it's not really a complicated body, you don't have a bunch of conditional logic, then like just do implicit.
If I'm writing a function that's only going to be used in my own code base, 99% of the time I'm using an inferred return type. If I'm writing a function that people outside my code base depend on, I'm using an explicit return type 99% of the time.
We'll see what I prefer. Don, what are your opinions on just niching down to only a CMS like HubSpot? So just being a HubSpot web developer, is that a good idea considering the saturation? I don't think something like that should. Okay, so it depends what you're niching down with. Look at your area. Look at your like local big tech city. What are they hiring for? Reach out to people that are using that CMS. So like this gets a little bit more nuanced. Like WordPress is a very common thing that people should, especially in the PHP realm, should consider learning to be able to be more marketable. HubSpot is pretty niche. You know, it's not like Shopify or WordPress. It is a little bit more niche. So what I would do, honestly, is like reach out to people on LinkedIn that are working with the HubSpot CMS. And what would they recommend? Because I think once we get into niches like that, we have to dig into that ecosystem. We have to dig into how those people got the jobs and what they would recommend. So that's what I would do a little bit more research with that. But ultimately, like, are you going to become a worse developer because you're focused on stuff like that? It's like if you're not really getting great with the languages that you need for more traditional positions and you spend more time just learning a CMS, you're not really competitive in those other positions. So you're taking a risk. Again, this is where you would have to do more research into that specific niche to make that decision. Well, I meant C++, but I guess that's a different use case. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm good. I appreciate the offer, though, Kadao. Since generic programming can be complicated enough without handling manual return types. Yeah, I think I'll just develop a preference and play around with it. I think I don't need to form that opinion now. I think I just use it, right? I just use it in my application and see how it goes. I don't like this song. Why is this still in my playlist? Did someone? No one requested this. Hold on. Yeah, it is in. No, I'll get rid of it for next week. All right, cool. Let's go. Support AI needs a way to combine our internal. Actually, what I wanted to do, let's load up VS Code. What just happened? Hold on. What? Why? Okay. That feels buggy. What I meant to do was, how do I do this? Okay, I bring this here. The tiles thing, it's going to take a little bit to get used to with the Pop OS. I'm going to enlarge this. Okay, I think we're good. Okay. So, if we have... I don't even know what I'm doing. All right, so if bool, then we return yo. Otherwise, we return sup. That's useful. As long as I can see it without any extra configuration, yeah, that's useful. On like it again, I think where I'd probably form an opinion is if we wanted, like, if we had a complicated body and I wanted more confidence in the logic that I was right, or I wanted more a reminder, a strictness in what it needs to return to keep it very scoped to what it's trying to do, then maybe defining an explicit type here would be helpful for that. And I think that's my only opinion with inferred versus explicit, which I would probably lean on inferred. I'm probably, like, for simple stuff, just going to lean on inferred. For complicated stuff, probably going to lean on explicit. I think that's my opinion for it. I just wanted to hover over it and test it. I've actually never used TypeScript. It's only been JavaScript when I do web stuff, really. Kind of fun. Do you prefer typed languages or no? Support AI needs a way to combine our internal system prompt with a user's prompt. Complete the combine prompts function. It should accept two string parameters. Return them concatenated together, separated by a new line. System prompt should come first, followed by the user prompt. No. Oh. That's what I get for not checking it. All right, let's go. No? Okay. Hold on. What do we do? I'm not paying attention. System prompt, user prompt. Turn them concatenated together, separated by a new line. Going through this too quickly. Okay, run it. Yes. All right, we're good. I prefer statically type for anything core to my project and dynamically type for anything that is scripting, automation. Oh, okay. Can you share why that is? I'm just curious. Hey, what's up, live stream? How's it going? Hey, that's a great song. Thanks, Cloud. I like the song. Artemis, I like the way you kiss me. Yeah, it's a pretty good song. Been lurking for a while, but wanted to say hey. Well, I appreciate that. Even if you're just lurking, I always appreciate the casual hey or whatever. Don't have to participate in the conversation, but it's good to know you're there. Hey, I thought about this. Live stream, I actually have a question for you. I was thinking about doing more reactions to videos and just playing World of Warcraft in the background. I've seen a couple streamers do it where they're kind of just playing a game and then they have a video that's like in the corner of the screen and they're just reacting to it while they're playing the game. And I feel like World of Warcraft is kind of like a relaxing enough game where I could do that. Do you think that would make my advice videos better or worse? Or like my reaction videos better or worse? Because I think it would like... I wonder if it would just appeal to people that liked World of Warcraft. But I'm kind of like curious to start with like, if you do like World of Warcraft, would that make my videos better or worse or more distracting? I think that's my question. The TS-specific void type represents the return value of functions that don't return a value. Okay. In JavaScript, a function without a return statement returns the undefined by default, but that's kind of vague. TypeScript uses the void keyword to indicate that truly nothing is returned. In other words, void more explicitly communicates the intent that a function returns nothing. I almost want to go explicit, to be honest. I like just with this example. I mean, like if this is more complicated, it'd be nice to get like a void. You know what I mean? Because isn't it like by default undefined? No, it is. Oh, it's okay. It doesn't for void. I kind of like this. I think that is useful rather than having to hover over it. I don't know. I'm not sure. I would personally like it, but not sure. Could give it a try and compare the numbers. That's probably the move, just to give it a try. Okay. Thanks for sharing. I like dynamically typed for scripting because it's quick. Okay, I was assuming it was speed because it's quick to change when I'm tweaking something, but when I have to work on something long-term, the static typing is way better to work with. Fair enough. I think that's reasonable. I think that's my opinion too. Okay, so in JavaScript, a function without a return statement returns the undefined, but that's kind of vague. TypeScript uses the void keyword to indicate that because a function can... Never mind. It typically isn't going to return undefined. TypeScript uses the void keyword to indicate that truly nothing is returned. In other words, void more explicitly communicates the intent that a function returns nothing. Hover the log system event function to see that it returns void. Okay. The problem is at Support AI, we don't want to simply log our logs to the console. We want to do other things like store them in a remote database. Update the log system event function to return the log as a string instead of a log logging to the console. So like just reading this, it just, I guess it's not a big deal. I just got to get used to it. Let's go. All right, I realize we have pre-rolls, so I'm gonna get rid of pre-rolls. Let's run a 3-minute ad. I think I'm gonna make some mint tea, actually, while I'm at it. Then we'll come back and continue forward the TypeScript stuff. I think by 2 p.m. So we're going to take a break, and then next break we take, then we're going to jump into Nest after that. So we'll do like 2 hours of this, 2 hours of Nest. All right, I will be right back. Give me like 5 minutes. Yo, what's up? All right. Let me know if the music is too loud or anything like that, because I think my mic is down a bit. I gotta increase it. Test, test. It's like barely hitting red. I might be all right. All right. Let's go. Moving on. Function types. Functions themselves are values in JavaScript and by extension TypeScript, which means they must also have a type, right? You might think, oh, easy, they're probably some function type. Not so fast. Function types are much more specific than that. In TypeScript, a function's type includes information about its parameters and a return value. The syntax for a function type looks like this. Okay, so we have our parameter 1, parameter 2, and then return type. For example, a function that takes two numbers and returns a number. And both of these functions are of that type. Okay. Which of the following represents the correct type for a function that takes a number and a Boolean and returns a number? Number, Boolean, returns a number here. Type alias. It can get really cumbersome to write out long custom types whenever you want to use them. For example, maybe we have a function that accepts another function as an input. Let's use a totally make-believe example, something that sets a timeout. Okay, so we have logger callback feedback. That's a nasty function signature. Let's use the type keyword instead to create a type alias. Okay, now anytime we need to use a specific kind of function, one that accepts two strings and returns a string, we can use the logger callback. Much better. It's easier to read and it's reusable. Assignment. Support AI's internal code style guide requires functions to be clearly typed when used as higher order functions. Create and export a new support response function type. A support response is a function that takes a string name and returns a string. Okay. Name string and returns a string. I think that's right. Fix the greet customer and farewell customer functions to match the support response type. Actually, I mean, actually, where do we place this? It's not the return value itself, right? I mean, we don't just do this. Do we? No. So we have type equals parameter string. But it's like we're passing in a function like this. I'm not sure how to set the... Do we just do it at the end? Like this? No. To match the support response. I mean, like, are we just getting rid of age? Is that all? Let me read this again. Internal style guide requires functions to be clear. Maybe that's actually... No, we still can't do that. We're not using higher order functions. Where do we put this in? I just look at the solution because I'm not sure. Yep, that's fine. Oh, we're not putting it in yet. Oh, we're exporting it. And it did say export. I need to just pay attention. Why can't I not just read? I'm okay. I still learn from that. All right, so we're just exporting it. Got it. Thank you. I'm like, how the hell do we use this here? But we're going to export it from utilities because we're going to be passing these functions in to somewhere and then using it. All right, let's go. Importing types. With certain TypeScript configurations, you can import types directly from a module. Import user post from models, but it's much safer and more efficient to use the import type. Okay. I mean, you could be importing a class, right? Unless you use a type. This way, TypeScript knows that you're only importing types, and it can drop the imports from the compiled JavaScript code. The syntax also works. But personally, I prefer the first one. It's more concise and keeps all my type imports in one place. Fair enough. I actually like this over like if we had to add specific methods or whatever we're importing. I don't want to combine them with the types. I actually do. I don't know. I could see myself combining them. I don't know. Importing types with the import type syntax reduces bundle size? No. It does. Oh, it can drop the imports from the compiled JavaScript code? What do you mean drop them? Oh, so it's not importing everything. I got ya. I see what you're saying. Yes. Cool. All right. I do like the amount of detail Boot.dev goes into when it teaches stuff. As someone that writes a lot of Go, some of these songs are just sometimes I don't know like if I'm just not in the mood for a song or I want it out of my playlist. I think what I'm kind of leaning towards is kind of just having a bit of a like synthwave, chill wave type of playlist. Maybe a little EDM mixed in, but like I don't know about like house. Like repetitive, very upbeat stuff. I'm not sure about that. Union types use the pipe symbol and allow you to specify what a value can be one of several types. Or that a value can be one of several types. Unions are perfect for when a value could be one of several types. One really cool thing about TypeScript is the conditional checks actually change the type of variable. This is called type narrowing. Take a look. Now val is only a number. If type val equals string, parse int. Gotcha. I mean, we could like automatically convert it into parameters itself, right? I think that's a thing. But if we want to, maybe it isn't actually going to convert, which then breaks our application. I want to throw an error graciously. So What was it? Hold on. Was there not kind of a shortcut to auto converting? Oh, you know what? You know what I'm going to do? Hold on. You don't like the song, Bunny? I installed LM Studio last night. I have Olama installed, but I'm not really doing anything besides chatting. Oh, you requested the wrong song? Hold on. That's not working. All right. There we go. I'll skip it for you. No worries. No problem. Load. Llama's instruct. I think that was a good one. 8 billion parameters. Runs really quickly. 13 a tiny bit slower, and then above that, I think I have to offload some of it to my regular memory. All right, so can you auto convert from a string to a number and a function parameter in JavaScript? So it's, I mean, like, I know about number, parse float, and all that outside the parameter, but I thought there was a shortcut to do it in you defining the parameter, and I think I'm just wrong. I'm just misremembering that. All right. Cool. Let's go. All right, so what are we doing? Union types are perfect when a value could be one of several types. One really cool thing about TypeScript is that conditional checks actually change the type of variable. It's called type narrowing. At Support AI, we're upgrading our ticket processing system to handle different types of ticket identifiers. Our clients use both numeric IDs like 42 and project codes like support 123, and our system needs to process both formats uniformly. All right, so update. Get ticket info function to only accept an ID that's a string or a number. If the ID is a string, parse. Type. Can we do this? No, I was wondering if there's like some secret TypeScript way to, but no. All right, so if it equals string, we're gonna go ahead and we're just parsing the number out of it. I mean, we're just gonna directly manipulate the parameter. Why not? Fuck immutability. So I mean, if we can be assured that it's just gonna like be this format, I suppose we could do probably gonna return it as a number. Cool. I've seen that before. What is this? I mean, what you're... Oh. I kind of like... I mean, he just doesn't care how this is labeled. Gotcha. I mean, I know I shouldn't be directly manipulating the parameter. I just didn't care. I do like that. I think that's a little bit more clear. I mean, I don't know why I converted it to a number. Is this going to be... Yeah, I probably should have reverted that because I made a false assumption there. Okay. Yeah, his is better. What's up, Millhouse? Have you ever tried C#? I hear it's way faster than TypeScript and it's pretty much everything you need built in. No, I have no interest in C#. We're learning enough languages. If I went into game development, I'd learn C#. Optional parameters. You can specify function parameters as optional with a question mark after the name. There are two rules to keep in mind. Optional parameters must come after all required parameters. For example, this code won't compile. Optional parameters have an undefined automatically unioned on the specified type. If the value is omitted, it's undefined instead of the specific type. Makes sense? At Support AI, we're building a service that calculates pricing for our API usage. Different tiers of customers get different rates. Modify the calculate API cost function signature. The tier parameter should be optional. Complete the function. It should return the cost of the API calls based on the number of requests and optionally the tier. If no tier is provided, each request cost is 0.10. If the pro tier is specified, each request cost 0.5. Okay. I don't think I should do an else. I kind of like doing this. Like, if not, because else could mean like they try to type something else in besides Pro and Enterprise, but it's not blank. So I'd rather just grab or account for this first. So if no tier, then return numRex times 0.1. If tier equals Pro, return numRex times 0.05. If tier equals Enterprise, I'm going to be mixing Python and JavaScript. Then we're going to return numRex times 0.03. Result is possibly undefined. So no matter what. Okay, we're just going to, all right. We're going to assume anything else, because that's what it's testing for. Ah. No, stop it. Else. We'll just return that there. There we go. So it's making the assumption that anything else is going to be a no tier provided. All right. Sorry. Looking something up on Twitter. All right. Let's move on. Default parameters. Default parameters provide fallback values. Wait, is pre-roll off again? No. Oh, I canceled it. No, we still have 35 minutes. All right. Default parameters provide fallback values for optional arguments. All right. It was warrior. Use default parameters. You do not need to mark the parameter as optional by using question mark. When using a default value, the parameter type can be automatically inferred, so don't specify it. Cool. Unless you need to widen the type. Support AI is improving its response time estimation system. The time needs to accurately communicate to users how long their AI request will take to process. Complete the estimate response time function. It takes two optional parameters: prompt length, a number with a default value of 100 tokens, and model type, a string with a default value of text. Calculate the estimated response time for that prompt based on model type. Text, image, code. Okay. Anything else? 0. Return the final calculated. All right, cool. Let's do it. So it's inferred. We don't have to specify the type. Model type by default would be text. I probably would have thought to specify the type, but yeah, that's good that it's inferred. All right, so if should we like practice switch? We should do it. I haven't used this in a while. Switch model type. No, stop it. switch model type. Oh my god. Oh, that's because hold on. Let's review JavaScript. Switch cases are underrated. When you have a lot of conditionals to check for, I think they are. Like simple conditionals. I agree with you. Okay, switch. Got it. So it's going to be model type case where it is text. Dude, I swear this autocomplete. Hold on. Like, I'm reporting this as a bug. This tries to auto-populate with a pop-up of options to select from that have nothing to do with a switch statement. I just want to write a case for a switch statement without the pop-up. Cool. So if case text, what are we doing? You know what Lane should do? I feel like it'd be cool, and like any software can do this. Like if your bug report is worked on and a bug is fixed, you should be notified. Like, what a way to encourage people to report bugs for your system, to give them recognition that them taking the time out to report bugs resulted in something. Like, that's actually a good idea. Because I do think a lot of people just go through apps that they use. They don't report bugs. What am I even returning? Why? Hold on. Why do I need to know it's seconds? I just, okay. I think I'm just returning 2. Okay. Return 2. Right, we don't need the break. It actually does return. The case doesn't catch the return. It will return in the function. So return 2 plus 0.01 times prompt length. Case image. What's up, Magic? I swear. Case code. By the way, what are you guys working on right now? Guessing you have me in the background. I don't know how many people actually watch me do this. Maybe people do. I feel like it's, again, just like a work in public. Oh my god. Return 3 plus else return 0. So it does not like the else. Statement expected. Default, that's what it is. Fuck. Rounded to the nearest whole number. What are we getting here? Will number do it? We should probably do like math round. What's up, Over? Is it a bit quiet for other people? Is what a bit quiet? At work, working on an open API spec. Nice, money. I'm going to be diving into that next, maybe. Like, it's something I'm brand new to. And I want to work on that Swagger file. I don't know if I'll get to it today, but that's the direction I'm going in. Getting rid of GraphQL. Does math round lean towards the nearest whole number? I would assume so. Oops. Doesn't number do the same? It's not a float. No? Okay. Cool. Math round it is. I think that's the problem. I don't know. I got to build some other hotkeys for this. I'm so used to the Mac ones. Let's try it. All right, there we go. What's up, Renee? How's it going, man? All right, let's go. Cool. Simple. Literal types. Many other statically typed languages, including Go, don't have nearly as extensive and powerful type systems as TypeScript. Ooh. That had to be hard to write for him. It should be obvious because it's in the name, but TypeScript truly is a massive type system. Literal types are incredibly powerful for narrowing the possible values of a variable. A string can have an infinite number of values. A number can have an infinite number of values. So what if we want to declare a direction variable? What the? Oh, an actual direction variable. Okay. Function move direction string. This kind of sucks. Direction could be any string. To be fair, in many languages, enums are used to solve this problem. While TypeScript does have enums, which we'll cover later, literal types are a more lightweight solution. A literal value can be used as a type. Now, direction can only be north. Which of the following represents a good use case for literal types? Function that checks if Alan's job has been replaced by AI. I'm guessing Alan works here. He's an employee. Function that takes 2 strings and returns their concatenation. Function that takes 2 numbers. A function that takes 1 of 3 specific string values. But it's just 1 specific value, is it not? Function that takes 1 of 3 specific string values as an argument. It's definitely not C. I mean, I guess we're going to have literal types for each, but then a function that takes 2 strings and returns their concatenation. Function that takes 2 numbers. I actually don't know the answer to this. Now direction. Because like we could have literal types for each parameter. A function that takes 2 strings. We can have a literal type for each string. A function that takes 2 numbers. We could probably have a literal type for each number. Could we not? I'm assuming it's this and it's not. I'm doing this. No. A function that takes 1 of 3. What the fuck? What? Are you talking about... Is that a literal type? Like... Four. It has to be 4. It has to be 3. That's a literal type. Are we talking now about... What, like, what? Hold on, I'm confused. Function that takes 1 of 3 specific string values. So this is called a literal type. That's called a literal type. Let me look at this. Numeric literal types which act as the same. So I guess the way so this is a literal type. Even though you have multiple options. Okay. That's also called a literal type. Got it. What's up, Ram? How's it going? How's everyone doing today? Happy Tuesday. I kind of want to jump into Twitch Sprout. Do we finish this up? I'm tired of learning today. Honestly, I just like no more than 2 hours of learning. At least coding. I mean, unless I split it up into later. I think what we do... I think we jump into Twitch Sprout. Yeah. Let's jump into Twitch Sprout. So I'm going to go offline on YouTube. I'm going to stay online on Twitch. And if you want to watch the TypeScript live stream, you can. I'm going to keep that live for a while. But anyways, thanks for hanging out on YouTube. And if you guys want to join us on Twitch, it's twitch.tv/DonTheDeveloper. And of course, if you find this course interesting, you can just use the affiliate code I have in my description below. Get a discount, pretty big, especially if you are paying for like the 6-month or year. But it's up to you. Remember, you can actually go through this material for free. You're really just paying for the interactivity and everything else. But if you just want to read it like a book, you can get that for free on Boot.dev. So keep that in mind. All right. See you, YouTube. Bye-bye.